Hey, Quad Bros, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Glad you guys are joining me. We're going to be doing another one of these BR deep dives, this time on allies for BR1. I did Axis BR1 last time. If you haven't seen that, check that one out. I figured we'd do allies next since it's the most populated faction after the Axis, at least as far as I'm aware. We'll start getting into the higher BRs as we go on, but keep an eye out for a Soviet and a Japanese BR1 deep dive as well. So let's jump into it right here, guys. First off, we're going to be wanting to bring a medic squad. This is pretty straightforward. Again, just like the other factions and just like Germany, we're going to want to bring this medic squad because it's going to be our primary assault squad until we unlock assaulters in tier 2. Now, as for the BR1 weapons, the Sten Mark II is going to be our go-to, in my opinion. This kind of cuts the middle line between the Rising and the M3. Once we get the M3A1 later on, this is a better option than the Sten. Only slightly, to be fair, and maybe the cost doesn't justify it. But I really like the Sten. I think the Sten kind of gets a bad rap in Enlisted. I think for BR1, it's a really solid gun. It has a 32-round magazine, which immediately puts it over the Rising, in my opinion. I think having a high magazine capacity is such an important trait to have in Enlisted. So that really is great for this. And it has much higher rate of fire than the M3. So it's got low damage, only at 5.5 versus the 6.8 of both of these guns. But I think it really does make up for that with the rate of fire at 550. So in my opinion, this is the way to go. The M3 submachine gun is also a decent pickup if you guys prefer the hard-hitting firepower that this comes with. But I think the Sten is the superior weapon. So we're going to be going with that medic squad, decking them out, of course, with the Sten. Make sure to upgrade this whenever you are able to. Getting those upgrades is really nice. It gets you that extra rate of fire, a little bit of reload time and recoil reduction, things like that, all that good stuff. Next up, we're going to have our engineers. Of course, our engineers are going to be an absolute staple. We're going to have our powerhouse squad and the medics, and then our engineers to kind of fill in the gaps there. As for the rifles of this BR, we've got 3 solid ones. None of them are really that different from one another. I personally like the Springfield USMC the most, but I don't know if it's really worth spending any amount of silver on picking these up. I really don't think it is. You can see the differences are pretty small between these two. Rate of fire 54 versus rate of fire 51, and they have the same damage. The USMC does have different sights on it. It has a ring sight at the end rather than the just the open sights of this Springfield. But at the end of the day, I don't really think it's worth spending a lot of silver just to get slightly different sights. And I guess the infield P14, this does have 6 rounds. No, it has a 5-round magazine, so it's not even better in that regard either. I don't think this is worth picking up. So this kind of just comes down to personal preference. None of these guns are exceptionally better or worse than the other ones. So really, it's just whichever one you personally prefer, or if you want to go with the Springfield just to save those that little bit of silver, right? But either way, we're going to be decking our engineers out with your rifle of choice. And then using our engineers in-game as anti-tank units, because the early anti-tank unit or gun for the allies is absolutely hot trash. The Boys AT rifle, I believe, is the worst of all of them with just 30 pen. Is that true? Yeah, this has 35. I think the Soviets has 40. Yeah, 40. And then the this has 45. This is amazing. So Boys AT rifle, far and away the weakest of all of the anti-tank rifles. Really just isn't going to get the job done against anything bigger than a Panzer II most of the time. And it can do okay against the Japanese tanks, I suppose. But really just not worth using. I'd rather have an explosive pack, I'll be honest with you guys. I'd rather be able to build an anti-tank gun with my engineers. So I'm not bringing any AT gunners in any of these squads. I'm just, I guess I have one here. But mostly in this engineer squad, it's just going to be building anti-tank guns to take out enemy vehicles or using explosive packs and things like that. So engineer squad, of course, a staple. And then our final squad, we have a couple choices here as always. We can bring our sniper squad. I'm not a huge fan of these snipers. I just don't think they're that good. They're just not good snipers. Like, they're not bad, but I much prefer the sights on like the Kar 98 or even the Mosin. The hit power on the Mosin is actually really big. So I really just don't think that snipers are worth taking as the allies, at least not until later. Whenever you get like the Lee infield. sniper rifle, but that's a long ways away. So I would personally pass on the snipers. And then our other option is bringing an anti-tank squad. And I would pass on an anti-tank squad again for what I mentioned before, where the boys AT rifle is just really, really bad. I recently did a video on it, so you guys can check that out to see just how bad that is. But it's just not a strong weapon, and so I would rather just bring a 9-man infantry squad. I'd rather level this bad boy up, get this squad leveled up to have a bunch of rifles, give them all just baseline M1903s, toss in an engineer for some rally points, and call it a day, right? Have this 9-man squad that can push into objectives, cap stuff quickly, do some damage. That's kind of what I boil this down to. You can bring this this AT squad, but I really just don't think it's that worth it, right? As for vehicles, we have two primary choices in my opinion. We can bring either the Hurricane Mark II that has a nice pair of 250 kg bombs, which are pretty good at BR1, and it's also a decent dogfighter on top of that. Not an amazing plane by any stretch, only has 7.7, so it's really just going to be poking enemy planes, but you're also at BR1. You're going to get slaughtered by stuff like the IAR from the Germans, but if you want to bring some sort of fighter, this isn't a bad choice. Now, on the ground, though, vehicles, the M5A1 here, Stuart, is an exceptionally good vehicle, absolutely incredible, and also gets you unlocked towards the M8 Scott that we'll be using in BR2, in my opinion. So the M5A1, incredible amount of hull armor, 64 millimeters, and 44 in the turret. And remember, the 64 is actually, if you can see there, it's also angled, which is going to increase the effective thickness as well. So absolutely incredible vehicle. Its biggest downside is it has a very small cannon, just 37 millimeters. But you're going to be able to take on basically anything that the Germans throw at you, and you're certainly going to be able to absolutely stomp anything that the Japanese throw at you. I mean, a Kami has just 12 millimeters of armor, which you're going to be able to easily front pin and slaughter, and their little 37 millimeters not going to be able to front pin you in the Stuart. Germans, on the other hand, I think the Panzer III is the only thing that really gives you any amount of trouble, and even then, you should be pretty fine. Semavente can be a little annoying as well, but the Stuart is a very, very good pickup. What it lacks in firepower, it certainly makes up for in armor, and at the end of the day, you've still got 2 machine guns on this bad boy, and you're going to be able to spit out a lot of machine gun fire to take down infantry and support your team. So, great little vehicle. Great tank for BR1. Definitely something that you should be bringing over the Hurricane, in my opinion. And that's it. BR1, pretty straightforward. A lot more straightforward, I think, than the Axis. Really, you just have you have a Sten, right? BR1 for the Allies is not very good. Your best weapon is the Sten and the Stuart. Your rifles are really not that amazing. Nothing really to write home about those. It's BR2 that we really start picking up some steam when we start getting stuff like the M1 Carbine and the Browning Auto. But that'll be for a future video. Guys, remember to like, comment, and subscribe. It does help me out. I appreciate it as always. Let me know your guys' thoughts on my video here and my outline deep dive into BR1 for the Allies. Did I miss something? Did I forget something? Did I not talk about something that you really think we should be bringing in BR1? Let me know in the comments down below. But without anything else, I'll see you guys next time. Take it easy.